All right, let's do it. Brad, welcome. Thanks for coming to the show, man. How are you?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
The fact that you've listened to a couple makes it a little bit easier. I like when people listen and then they come on and they kind of know how everything goes. So I like that.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, the format's cool. I dig it. So we're just kind of here to have a chat about hockey, which is what I do for a living. So it's awesome. It's very comfortable. Just kind of shoot the shit about hockey, which is fantastic.
It's when I was saying in the intro, like I was a player growing up. Goalies were goalies, but I always thought of a goalie as an individual when it came to the preparation of the game. You know, when you're a player, I always found that I'd talk to my line mates, talk on the power play specialist, talk to some coaches, and a goalie was never really part of that discussion. They were always by themselves. They were always training, doing special regimens before a game. And the mind of a goalie really fascinates me. And the fact that you work with these goalies for a living, that fascinates me. So essentially, I just want to pick your brain and see what you do to make a goalie go from point A to point B. Because, I guess for how long did these guys train for in the summer? 3 months, 4 months?
Yeah, depending on their level. Yeah, depending on their level. Like for us, I mean, and a big thing, and a lot's come out like in the media and social media and stuff like that recently, especially about the younger kids maybe specializing too early.
Really?
And no, for sure. Like even like a guy like Sid is a big advocate of kids playing multiple sports and taking a little downtime from hockey and things like that. But it's tough, right? Because it's that pressure to keep up and the pressure to keep advancing and getting higher levels as you go with that kind of, almost need, especially for the young kids to kind of take some time off. So I'll just throw it at you this way. Like for our minor hockey goalies, I think this year I ran my last session April 14th. And then we didn't start up again with them until the last week of July, like kind of thing. So just kind of for the minor hockey guys. Now the guys that are moving on, major, junior, getting pro opportunities, those guys we tend to kind of stay with them year round kind of thing. Like they'll take weeks or two off here and there, but they don't like to be too far away and they've got to keep their fitness up and that. But a lot of the springtime for them is they're off ice. They'll come back and work with their personal trainers and things like that. But so for the young guys, as the minor hockey guys go through, we just kind of like them running through practices. And again, not really specializing too early. Again, people get really excited about it, especially if the kid's keen.
Yeah.
But like for my programs, for example, like to go into one of my camps, you have to have completed a year of Adam as a goalie.
Why is that?
Just because I just want them to, I don't think there's really a need for it, for them to kind of get it. And even like just like attention span and just kind of the ability to really bring in a 6-year-old goal, like, have a 6-year-old goalie come out and we're like, because it's very specific, like to your point, goalies are very kind of position specific. It's highly detailed in a lot of cases. Yeah. So to have really, really young kids, it's kind of tough. Whereas, young players and stuff, you can have them skate the circles. And I just like the goalies to do that anyway. Like just go with the team, go with that. So I don't really advocate them having position specific, like kind of goalie instruction until they've actually been in it for a little bit, like had the gear on, just kind of goofed around, dove around the net, tried to make the big saves, like things like that before we start, bringing out ropes and pulleys and looking at angles.
I've seen some weird stuff on the other end.
Wow. Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, as you progress it gets more and more important, like you say. So once they get up into that Pee Wee, Bantam, midget, especially, the specific stuff. And then to your earlier point about the mental side, that gets really big, really, really important, just because how the pressure mounts and you're dealing with tryouts and things like that. So, but for the early guys, it's basics, skating, early fundamentals, and then get them into, maybe one camp here and there. Yeah. But they don't need to be doing it constantly. And then as they get older, we got to build into it. But I still, even to this day, like I advocate kids playing other sports, taking some time. Too. Yeah, taking some time away from the rink. So it's cool. Like our guys go out in the springtime, they'll start their outdoor soccer or maybe baseball or whatever, and they'll start playing that. And then, like I said, when August really comes around, it's time to start. Okay, hockey season's kind of back in because tryouts start. We know that the major junior camps are going on. So now, even if the kids aren't playing major junior, it's kind of in the air. Yeah. Like we were like, oh, hockey season's back. The Mooseheads are starting training camp. Now the kids really want to get back into it. And I want to get back to it. I get excited. This is a fun time of year. But for me to have an 11-year-old kid out in June is absolutely pointless. Like it's so far after the season. It's so far before the season. For me to teach them something, unless I'm seeing them again right away, they're going to forget it anyway. Yeah. So to have a camp at the end of June or the start of July, or forget about it. Like really, go do something else. Go, even you can go in the gym or whatever if you're a little bit older, but whatever, take some time off for sure.
So the mental side of it, like when you're a young kid, I was saying on the intro, there's only 2 spots on a team for a goalie, especially when you're younger. It must be tough to get that cut, like you said, Adam, Pee Wee, Bantam, whatever it could be. Do you ever talk to kids about that, about how that's not the end of the world and how you can move on afterwards?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question. We've seen tons of cases where, kids are kind of in that A or B stream.
Yeah.
And then eventually just kind of, pull through and end up making it out, whether they're a late bloomer or whatever. And things are weird in tryouts, man. Like tryouts are really weird.
I hated tryouts.
Hated
tryouts.
Tryouts are nuts. And tryouts are really tough for goalies, especially because you have a limited amount of time. A ton of goalies, like to your point, there's only 2. Like, so you could have, 10, 12 kids trying out for 2 slots. Whereas forwards, I mean, you've got 9, you can slot guys in here and there and the other way. And the funny thing is, like when you do tryouts, they tend to go into scrimmages early. They tend to go into games early and things like that. And those are a crapshoot.
Goalies don't, but do goalies like the scrimmages though? They don't like that? I thought they would because they can prove a point. They can prove their worth.
Well, that's a great segue because here we go, right? So now all of a sudden this Pee Wee AAA team has 2 goalie spots open and we're into some scrimmages now. And who knows, depending on where other teams are with their tryouts or just how balanced that particular thing is, I'll go to a tryout, let's say, for a Pee Wee AAA thing. And we'll have, 3 goalies on each team, each playing a period. And, 2 goals were scored the entire game. So 4 goalies had shutouts and 2 guys let in one, but one was a rebound playing in. So now you're like, holy cow. And now that's where parents and goalies start freaking out. There's like, oh, my kid, he had 2 shutouts and he didn't make the team. What's going on, right? So then it really starts because there's only so many spots, right? And we have these good guys. So then you start really having to getting into the details of it. But the mental side of it, just kind of those highs and lows, we're finding that the goalies experience those really early. And, of course, pressure from mom and dad or peers or things like that.
Especially at the young age. I remember politics in hockey where, especially as a player, it was bad. I couldn't imagine being the politics of a goalie parent knowing that there's only 2 positions and the margin for error is, I don't know, maybe a little kick save that took a bad rebound, so the guy scored, and now you get cut down to AA.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And again, that kind of process will never be perfect. Like that will never.
That's just life.
It is just.
You can't fix it.
It really is. You can't fix it. Like even like me, I'm not going to be perfect every single time. Like I'm going to miss a guy. Like man, I thought that was the guy.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it turned out like whether he was just in the right frame of mind for those few tryouts and was just in the zone, and then after that things went wrong for him or you had something happen. You kind of, Brad, why'd you say that guy was? I was like, man, well, I'm looking at kind of the data and what my eyes are telling me, and I thought that was the guy, but you're never going to be perfect on that stuff. And so for me, I try to stay away from it a lot. Like
the politics?
Well, yeah. And just kind of, that's right. The politics of evaluations. Because I don't want people coming in saying that guy only made the team because Brad was here doing the thing and he spends money at his camp.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That was my next question. Like, do parents and coaches and all these people call you and say what? They must, because if you're that guy from around here, people must be calling you left, right, and center.
They do, and that
is that frustrating?
And yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's very challenging for me for sure, because at the same time, I know what certain kids are capable of, and sometimes they just don't put their best foot forward. I say, like if they had a few eyes on them, like whether it was the head coach and the assistant coaches of the team, and maybe they had an independent goalie evaluator doing their thing, and for whatever reason they just didn't like what was going on. I mean, that happens, right? So because again, for the goalies and stuff, and even players too, I'd imagine, like stats are going to be tough in a short assessment. Like in a short assessment like that, stats are going to be very, very tough, like you say, because you could have a player just pull one out of his rear end some night and get a hat trick. Is he going to make the team? No, that may have just been a one-off. So like you say, you have a kid who has a couple of great days in tryouts as a goalie, man, he can kind of put some people out. Or if a kid just doesn't have it that day or two, and then he drops. So again, it's kind of like these kids that are streamed, for example, that have played Adam AA 2 years and played Pee Wee AAA their first year. Yeah. Now, if that kid goes out, you never know what could have happened. You never know what could have been the reasoning. Could have just been a weird couple breaks. Yeah. Now you're returning Pee Wee AAA goalie in your scrimmages. Well, man, that guy did give up 4 or 5 goals, and a couple other guys that are moving up from Adam or maybe AA, they really rock starred. So how do we kind of do this? Very few associations are going to drop down guys or move kids from a lower spot. Once you kind of get your spot in the first year,
You're there.
You're kind of set. So is that the way to do it for players or goalies? Do you get kind of these 2-year contract kind of things when you make it as a first year? And it's really come up for me. It really came up for me recently, like in the midget league, especially. The midget league is getting
Major midget
is really kind of tricky because the third year, we have so many good goalies, especially Nova Scotia.
Do we?
Our Nova Scotian goalie, we're phenomenal. Like we're phenomenal. Like when I was coaching in Sherbrooke 2 years ago, for example. Okay, when I was coaching in Sherbrooke for 2 years ago, we had, and I mean, these are just like, I just kind of tracked the goalies that kind of came through with me, let's say. So goalies that were kind of empire goalies playing in the Q 2 years ago when I was in Sherbrooke. My goalies played in 50% of the games that were played in the Quebec Major Junior League. Right? That's just guys that came in with me. So then we had some other Nova Scotian guys that didn't really come up with me who were also played in games. So really more than 50% of the games.
Yeah.
Nova Scotian goalies played in the Quebec Major Junior League. So our goalies...
That's saying something. I don't know what it's saying, but it's saying something.
Like it really, really is. And our development in this province over the last few years has been outstanding.
It's a huge part of why I started the High Button. I was just like, people are talking about it, but no one's talking to the talent.
Yeah.
I was like, someone's got to do this.
Absolutely, right? So, yeah, and you've had a bunch of the guys on, like guys like Matty Welsh and Fitzy and you know, these kind of guys, right? Who are in the queue and playing, just not just in the league, but dominant guys in the league.
Making damage in the league.
That's right. So, like, you know, for example, like for the Canada-Russia series, the last 4 years, a Nova Scotian goalie's been in that game.
Can you name the 4?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was Mason McDonald,
yeah,
right? And then Fitzy went twice.
Okay.
So Fitzy had back-to-back years, and then Welshie last year.
Okay.
And then this year, it'll probably be Colton Ellis.
Sick. From Rimouski.
Who's from Cape Breton, again, trains with us. Same kind of thing. So there you go. So you're talking about a province that has like what, an eighth of the population of Quebec. Like Quebec's around 8 million, something like that. Nova Scotia's right around 1 million. So 8 times. But we're talking on the spot here. We're in these games. We're playing these minutes. We're leading the chart. All these kind of things. So the goaltending in Nova Scotia, like over the past few years, has just been out of this world.
So then what is it? Is it something in the water? Is it you?
Well, yeah, we're training them hard. Like, I mean, we are training them hard.
What's the formula?
Absolutely. And I certainly like to take some of the credit, like, you know what I mean? Because
do it.
When we do these programs, like you say, when we compare it, especially like when we look around the Atlantic provinces. So for example, like I've had Empire goaltending over the last 6 drafts, I believe. We've had 19 goalies selected.
What draft?
Like the Q draft.
Q draft, sorry.
Yeah, the Q draft. So 19 goalies selected over the last 6. And for the rest, like Atlantic Canada overall, I think is at 43. So we're right around 50%. Wow. Okay, so of the Atlantic Canadian goalies drafted come through our program, boom. Now the goalies taken in the first 5 rounds, we've had 10. The rest of Atlantic Canada's had 3 combined. Right? So we're talking about over triple that amount. And so the first 5 rounds are the rounds where you're really going to see the guys play and kind of excel and move on. It's the same thing with the NHL draft. Over the last 6 or whatever, we've had 3 guys go. All 3, Mason McDonald in the second round, Evan Fitzpatrick in the second round, Colton Ellis in the third round. Again, up in those high-level rounds, guys competing for Team Canada spots, right? So Jacob Gooby's a guy that just got invited to U17. If he's a guy that, again, gets through there and actually gets to play for Canada, so now we're talking about guys that have played. We're talking about Mason McDonald, who played U18 at the Ivan Helinka and the World Championships and was the top goalie at the World Championships. Only 2 Canadian goalies ever, I think, have won that award. I think it's him and Jake Allen, who's another Maritimer, by the way. And then played U20 at the World Juniors. So that's 3 times the guys represented Team Canada, right? And then Evan Fitzpatrick, played for U17 for Team Canada. So did Riley Pickard that year. And Evans also played at the U18 Under World Championships too, right? Matty Welsh won gold medal, U17, right? He's also been at those showcases. Colton Ellis played, U18, all that. So we're seeing guys that aren't just getting into the league, but are actually being like these dominant goalies, right? So there's something going on for sure. We're putting a lot of guys through there, and the program's really kind of taking off, and we're super, super proud of it. But to get back to our original point, there's almost too many. And then we talk about goalies being able to find spots. And it's almost like, man, when these guys are in there, like in their midget level, we had a lot of guys come in this year that I would have liked to seen at that 03 age play in major midget. But we still had so many goalies that were 2001 born, 2002 born that were still in the league. There wasn't really a lot of spots for guys. So like Jacob Gooby got in there at the max, which was really good. Got to go in, went on a hell of a run.
Met him this year, great guy.
Yeah,
Went
got
to Thunder
himself
Bay with
seen.
them.
Yeah, got himself seen and got taken in that second round by Charlottetown.
Yeah.
And again, the highest Atlantic Canadian goalie taken ever since Evan Fitzpatrick back in 2014. And Evan was taken the first round 4th overall, but Gooby was taken the second round 31st overall. So there hasn't been an Atlantic Canadian drafted that high in the last 5 years since him. So he's done a great job.
Is Gooby just being a sponge around Welsh right now? Is he just following his every move?
Sponge around everybody. And
Is
that
he?
kind of leads back to it too, because, there is something to be said for guys kind of going with that program and being around the same guys. What we're kind of seeing is a little bit of fracturing in the coaching community. So everyone's trying to do it. Everyone's trying to make their own camps. Everybody has their own connections.
I've noticed.
So we start spreading these guys out. And so they're not seen as much. So when we talk about like when the big, Canadian goalie crisis happened back a few years ago, and but it wasn't really a crisis. It was just kind of overblown. And but it was about talking about places like Finland that had smaller populations and could bring everybody together, so it was a little bit easier to train them. And so we found that as well. Like when we were coming up and kind of at the peak of that minor hockey development, like the group I spoke to you about just a second ago, that 2 years ago where we were playing over 50%. And at that point in time, I was working with 7 of the major Bantam teams. 7 of them. Yeah.
Man, that doesn't spread you thin?
Yeah.
Like
so,
your knowledge just must be...
And that's the kind of thing. But then those guys, again, would all be coming to my camps, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they'd all be together a lot. And so kind of all getting the same information, relaying it to each other, seeing each other do it, how they do it. And I think that makes a big difference. Because in that group, like I said, working with all those guys, them all being together and doing the same kind of things, there is something to be said for that. 100%.
Has the goalie position changed in the past 10 years from the game then till now? Because I remember when Sid used to came in the league, I think the game has changed ever since the World Championship tournament when Austin Matthews was there in Toronto when they did like the Youngins Canada Finland. Remember that?
Yeah,
I thought that was a great definition of almost a pivot in hockey where it became quicker. You don't have to be a big guy to get around. You could be small and move around with the puck. But did that change at all for a goalie position? Because I don't look at that. I just think a goalie position is the exact same forever. So I guess my question is, where has it changed from 10 years ago to now? Yeah,
well, I mean, you hit it. Like, you hit it just by mentioning the speed. Like, the speed of it is it's really been a funny kind of evolution, right? From more like, the stand up. Hey, why isn't the goalie standing up? Well, there's a little bit more to it than that, to where in the 90s and kind of the early 2000s, things like that, we're kind of really just kind of butterfly, just because of the percentages and the technology of the sticks and stuff.
That's changed technology of the sticks for goalie?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's a huge thing. Like, to your point, like 10 years ago or so, you couldn't see guys hit the top of the net with the release and the speed and the accuracy that they can now, and do it off of 1 foot and do it in these kind of weird situations. They needed a lot more time to load and kind of like that. So, and just the little plays, like, it's really funny to the kids. Like when I played and the guys would do the 3-on-0 drill at the end of practice and fucking tic-tac-toe, and you'd be like, you motherfuckers, that'll never happen in a game. You bring it, there's defense, blah, 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 blah. But now, even with defensemen out there, those plays still happen in games. The players are so smart. They train so hard. They're so used to passing through obstacles, things like that. They can move those pucks. So if you're down in the butterfly too long and you just can't make that push over, you're dead. So it's kind of been like this kind of like reverse evolution back to where we're spending a lot more time on our skates now. Or
really?
At least we're trying to. Yeah, like we're trying to, because just the speed of the shots and their ability to access the top part of the net, if you're just starting from a down position, there's just no way you're going to be able to get and cover that top of the net. So even if you're in a standing position using the butterfly, the fact that you at least started from a standing position and just held that position a little bit longer, the shot's going to impact you, whether it's in your shoulder or your hands or whatever, before your knees even hit the ice. So even though it'll technically be a butterfly save, the impact point was probably when your knees were above the ice.
Okay.
And then you save it and then you finish. So just that ability to hold your edges a little bit longer to defend the top part of the net is a huge thing in today's game. It's absolutely huge. And like I said, these guys that'll fake, that'll double pump, they're so patient, the shooters. If you're down before the puck is released, it's over. It's just over. The guy will pick the top corner, or he'll move it, or he'll cut. He'll just deke you or whatever. So goalies now, patience is kind of the big buzzword.
How do you teach patience? How do you teach patience?
It's just through it's through kind of good eyes on the puck, just good quiet eye time on the puck, because a lot of guys that just get too sold on body language.
That's my quote. You're not watching the feet, you're watching the puck. That's
right, exactly.
Because if a guy's pump faking, you're looking at...
Yeah, and you'll see a lot of the stuff now training, and you'll hear from goalie coaches like tracking down and getting their head down, and that's it, because the release point's from the ice level, and so getting on that puck as quick as possible is key, and not getting fooled by that body language or what you see up here, but actually staying on the puck as it's released just slightly off the stick. So the longer you can hold your eyes on that puck as it just comes off of the stick, the better off you're going to be.
It's almost like a pitcher when they're throwing a baseball. If you keep your...
Exactly right. It's all that kind of hand-eye coordination and tracking, but the pitching in the baseball is a great analogy. That's it. The longer you can hold there, the more you can paint that picture in your mind of that trajectory of the puck and where it's going. And then it just allows your head to just kind of move slightly, which expands your peripheral vision to a better spot. And then you just see the puck more clearly, because it's almost a puck, like, you know how fast the puck goes, especially like I say now with the technology, the sticks, and how these guys fire the puck. You just physically can't. Like you only have this amount of time to track a puck. So the key part to track it is at that starting point.
Okay.
As it's just coming off of that stick, now you can kind of pick up the trajectory, paint it in your mind's eye of how it's going to fly, and then as your peripheral vision expands, you get a much better vision of that puck coming in. But that's a huge thing. So it's kind of like patience, but the big part is just being on that puck, tracking the puck better. That's been a huge kind of change in goaltending over the last 5 years, like that emphasis in it, not necessarily a change, but the emphasis. And that's really a big thing too, is what we emphasize. And I find that's a big thing about goaltending and goaltending coaches, and maybe why our program has been a little more successful than, say, competitors, is I think that you can go online and look at things and say, wow, this NHL goalie coach does this drill, I'm going to do that drill. But it's how long do they do that drill? How much do they emphasize that particular drill, that particular skill? It's what you emphasize, and especially at the levels, what do you emphasize with Atom goalies, with Pee Wee, with Bantam, with Midget? And so for me, I spend a ton of time watching Bantam games, watching Midget games, watching Q games, because those are the games my kids really want to get to and the level I want to try to get them to, because that's kind of our goal. So helping kids progress into the major Bantam, into the major Midget, into the major junior. And that's kind of my tagline. If you follow me on social media, every clip I do, I always put from minor to major. Because that's
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's from minor hockey to major junior, right? To major junior. And then once you get into that spot, because again, that's when the training gets more fractured again. So my influence, once they get up into that level, drops a bit, just because when they're at that age now, they've got their major junior goalie coach in their ear. They've got their agent has a goalie coach that they send them to camps and things like that. That guy's in their ear. They may go to a Hockey Canada camp. Now those goalie coaches are in their ear. They may get drafted to an NHL team. Now that goalie coach is in their ear. And again, we're all going to emphasize different things. We're all going to think that this is super important. We're all going to think this is super important. And I think kind of knowing what to emphasize at a particular age or for a particular goalie is the real key. It's not kind of okay, I just have to practice their hand-eye coordination. But how do you do that? How long do you do it? What are the best drills to do that? How long do I spend on it? Those kind of things are the real difference, right? And so like I said, back to the thing about the vision, that's been kind of across the board, and holding the edges, like getting goalies to kind of be more patient on their feet, not dropping down too early, and then that early attachment on the puck, like that kind of getting it the most time possible with the puck on the player's stick, so you can actually see it, leave that release, get your eyes on it there. And that, because the longer you wait for that, the more trouble you're in. And it's funny because I'll get in these big arguments with goalies because they'll say, like, because as this area, if you can just see my finger, I can see this puck. Yeah. So right now, right, you would say to me, Brad, you're not watching the puck. And I'm like, fuck you, Justin. I'm watching the puck. I see where it is right now, right? But then when we get here, as it starts exiting my peripheral vision, that's when we see that goalie start to chase it. And the head comes around. So as the puck goes in the net, they're like, what are you talking about? I turned my head. I was watching the puck. You're a friggin' asshole. You don't know what you're doing, right? And I'm like, no, wait a second, right? So we have to see.
Do you want
early.
the goalie to turn the head? Or
absolutely, but it just has to happen early.
Oh, so when you got to turn the head when the puck's...
That's
okay.
yeah.
I see what you're
So
saying. Okay.
back to our earlier point is the puck's leaving the stick.
Yeah.
That's when we have to see that early kind of activation.
Okay,
with the
sorry.
hand.
Okay, I
So
get
we
it.
kind of see it coming there. So the fact that if it comes late, it's too late.
So that's how you know as a goalie coach whether you saw it or not. You the turn of the head.
Yeah. And
Learn something every day.
So for me during evaluations, that's one of the things we get picked up on. So when those two goalies get the shutout, and I'm talking to the coaches and I'm talking to the other evaluators, I'm saying, okay, so one guy we're pretty sure was locking in and making saves. The other guy was just kind of getting hit with the puck. Right. Like so again, like
he got lucky.
Yes. Yeah. For lack of a better word, he got lucky. Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? Now, maybe he had really good positioning, right? He was challenging well, put himself in a good spot, but I say probably got hit with the puck. And the other thing is the tricky part is that so many shots in hockey are easy.
Are they?
Yes, they are. I'll give you a great example. A couple of years ago, I don't know if it was this year or if it was 2 years ago, the Scott Foster guy, the emergency goalie for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Great story. I hope to make a movie about that.
Unbelievable, right?
Awesome.
Unbelievable. My man went in there 14 minutes in an NHL game, beer leaguer. I think he's like an accountant or something like that.
This is a great analogy.
Yeah.
Good.
7 for 7. Shutout.
Just the guy working a 9 to 5 job.
7 saves.
The guy.
7 saves, right? Like, I mean, now, if we broke him down on the video, me and some NHL goalie coaches would be like, oh, shit, that was ugly. Oh, God, what was he doing there? But the pucks, like I said, most of the shots aren't going to go in anyway. Like, the worst goalies in the NHL, right? I mean, an 800 save percentage is absolute garbage, right? Yeah. So that's out of friggin' 10 shots, you're still saving 8 of them. Just by being a body out there, really. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I said, this Scott Foster, I think he played university, like being a pretty good goalie.
Yeah.
But you're talking about putting him in an NHL game. But the dude still goes 7 for 7, right?
Yeah.
So the difference makers are those little things, like I said. So that extra athletic, the things are going to help you make the big save at those high levels, things like that. But like I said, it's nothing for a goalie to go out there and have a decent statistical kind of evening without really doing a whole lot right. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of difference. Like, to get to the high level, to be that guy, the amount of time you have to put into the little details and those kind of are huge, because that kind of difference is unbelievable. Now, you imagine a beer league player, a forward, playing an NHL game.
Nope.
How would that go?
Not well.
Absolutely embarrassing, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I doubt that guy would probably touch the puck. Maybe one might, but I was out there with Crosby and those guys skating around.
I want to talk about that.
There's no weird way of beer leaguers keeping up in any way, shape, or form. But like I said, a goalie with some reasonable skill can go out there and not look like a total buffoon, right?
Especially in a game. I think a practice is a different scenario, but a practice when there's 10 guys on the ice, it's harder to get a shot off. I agree with that.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, 100%. So when we're talking about those details and the difference between making a save and getting hit with a puck, and it usually comes down to kind of that puck tracking and how much that guy was actually on it. It was like, okay, there was no question about that. No matter where that shot was placed or whatever, that guy was going to make that save and probably control the rebound, or at least put it in a good spot. Where the other guy, not really tracking the puck properly, is just getting hit with the puck because he's there. Yeah, he got a shutout. Okay. So did the other guy get a shutout? Or how about this? The other guy might even let in 2 goals. Because again, the chances were just better. It was a rebound. It went off somebody's rear end, and that's the kind of tough ones. Because then, like, especially if I don't see it, and people come and they call me, or oh my God, he got cut. He had the best numbers at camp.
They call you when they get cut?
100%. It's unreal.
That's life, people. Don't call Brad. Fucking suck it up and make the team.
Yeah, no, and you just got to say that, right? Like, you just got, hey man, we did everything we could. It didn't work out. Maybe he didn't put his best foot forward, or she didn't put her best foot forward. And that's just the way it goes, right? Because kids are upset, and and like you said, the mental thing and being able to bounce back from that, getting cut, because it's a part of life, it's a fact of life.
I cried a couple times when I got cut, so I can't complain about anyone else complaining.
And it's good. I mean, dealing with adversity is good. And
it is.
It's hard to explain that sometimes to a 9 or 10-year-old kid or whatever like that, or a 12-year-old or a 30, like whatever.
But when their parents call you, that kind of ruffles my feathers a bit. Like, it's it's the kid. It's not you.
You try to kind of instill that kind of responsibility, and even there, like, just kind of say, hey man, like, what do you think? Like, what is the number one thing I got to work on, and really kind of take ownership of it and be accountable for it. I think that's the big thing. And then, if that's the the true test. If a kid's coachable or if he's accountable, if you could point out a mistake to a kid, he's got a chance. If he can't, if there's excuses coming out every time.
Well, that's my next question. How much fun is it to coach someone that wants to be better compared to someone that's there because they have to be there because of their dad? Well, you know, what's the difference?
And it's probably the number one reason I'm in the career, because I started out as a high school teacher.
Oh, did you? What subject?
Yeah, so I took an arts degree. I was an English social studies teacher, that kind of thing. So what happened was I was teaching high school. I had taught over at Prince Andrew, and I was just getting a job at Citadel when it first opened. Oh yeah. So that was the year. The year Citadel opened is when I became a full-time goalie coach.
Were the Moosehead guys at Prince Andrew when you were there?
They were. Yeah, that's right.
What guys were there when you were there?
Jeez, I forget, man. Holy smokes, when was that? That was back in like 06. 06.
Is that like
07?
Bonnerchuck days?
I don't know, because the thing was, when I was teaching there, I didn't have anything in my class.
No, well, I thought they were always in a separate class. They were always in like a room together.
So that's a great point. I don't think so. I think they were kind of in the regular
Voracek might have been there.
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't know. I'd have to kind of go back and check the thing.
Anyways, I cut you off. Go back.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the thing. Like I was kind of I was doing coaching on the side, but my day job was I was a teacher, right? So I was kind of doing teacher. But then more and more people had started calling me because they knew I'd just finished, playing university or whatever a few years ago, and I'd always worked goalie schools and helped out with different goalie schools. So guys knew what I was doing, and so they would call me up and say, "Brad, would you come out?" And so yeah, of course, because I loved it. It was a lot of fun. And so it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then with teaching and coaching, I mean, teaching, man, like friggin' those guys, like there's so many hours, like with correcting papers and lesson plans, the hours are insane, right? And so there just wasn't enough time. Yeah. But that was the thing, like to your point, the number one thing a teacher wants is a captive audience. It's the number one thing. And so when I was a high school teacher, I figured it was probably a 90-10 rule. I had 10% of the kids that wanted to be there, and it was awesome, like doing school with them. It was so much fun. 90%, whoa, baby.
You're a babysitter on
Maybe
that
it was
time.
20 to 80, I don't know. Now, as a coach, it's the reverse.
That's awesome.
So you do get 10%. The dad or the mom wants them to go there. The kid's kind of like, man, I'd rather be, playing a video game or doing something. But 90% of them, they want to be in the NHL, or they want to play for the Mooseheads at least, or even they want to play for their high school team, but they have some kind of a goal.
How much fun is that?
It's unreal. Like I said, like if you have a captive audience, if you have a guy or girl that, oh, this one, okay, this is what I want to, like to get to, like, because they have goals. Like I said, it could just be to make the Adam AA team, but very few kids are in school going, oh yeah, I want to, like some are because they want to go on to university and stuff like that. But it's like, oh yeah, when we start this, man, I just really want to get an A on this poetry unit. Like very few kids have that goal kind of thing. So even if it's a little goal, like something like, I just want to move out of host league and play Adam B this year.
That's a goal.
Exactly. So they want to get better. So they're a captive audience for you.
Yeah.
Right. Do you know what I mean? So that's everything. So obviously ever since I've been doing this going on 10 years now, there's really like, you have those some days, bad days with the 10% or with the goalie that gets cut or whatever like that. And you have to have that. But the good times far outweigh the bad times. Good times. It's all good times. It barely feels like work ever. I'm here talking, dude, this is what I do all day. I sit here and I talk to people about goaltending. That's what I do. Whether or not I might talk to a parent about goaltending, I might talk to a kid about goaltending, a Q scout, an NHL scout. Unbelievable, man. Like it was funny. Like when I coached in Sherbrooke a couple years ago, like I'm sitting at like the owner and GM's Jocelyn Thibault, like a guy that's my age, goalie, first round NHL guy. I shot the shit about goaltending with him all that. It was like, fuck, I was like, Jocelyn.
It turns into a kid again, right?
You're here, like, you believe this is our job? Like I'm sitting here talking to you, like it was just incredible, man. It was just so much fun, and so I just can't get over that. So it's just it's great being able to talk goaltending. So when you're talking about teaching, captive audience, kids that want to get better, even if it's just to make Millwood high or to whatever, they have a goal coming in. They're like, I want to make this team. I want to win this championship. It's awesome.
I also want to talk about the difference between an AHL goalie and an NHL goalie. I know the average age of an NHL goalie starting out is, 22, 23, 24, probably 25 maybe. What is it?
Like in the
starting, like
pro level, you mean?
Yeah, like some players start at 18, but you'll never see an 18-year-old NHL goalie.
Not anymore. I think Fleury may have been. Was he the first guy?
I thought he was 19, honestly. Maybe 20.
Like he played after his draft year, is what I'm saying.
Did he?
Like,
then maybe I'm wrong there. Yeah. But now,
maybe he didn't. Maybe he went back to Cape Breton for one more year. Yeah, maybe he did.
Did he play? He didn't play in the A. I thought he played in the A a little bit.
I don't know.
Anyways,
we'll look it up.
What do you think the difference is between an AHL goalie and an NHL goalie? Because you're saying that, guys that are able to make this level, they're able to see the puck when the puck comes off the stick. Guys are able to turn their head and catch the puck when they need to. I just want to know what the difference is, because we've had friends on the show. We had Fucali on, and like Fucali, it's like, that's a guy, he's a good friend of mine. I want him to be in the show. And there's just so many questions I have regarding the difference between here and the NHL. What do you think it is? Is it a mental thing? Is it a consistency thing? Is it not enough room? Is it you got to be a good agent to get your goalie in the right position? Because, you're not going to make Montreal right now with Price there, but if you go to maybe Nashville, or not Nashville, but Winnipeg, you'll go. What do you think it comes down to?
Yeah. Well, I think you hit it on the head when you said mental, and I think there's a lot of factors there.
Yeah.
I think we can kind of IQ is a big part of it. Yeah. And again, to your earlier point when you were talking about just the change in the game in the last 10 years, the speed of the game, being able to read plays is huge now, because you have to anticipate. And I'm doing a ton of that now with it. Like, that was a big part of my discussion with Fitzy and Mason and Chase yesterday. With the pro guys, is being able to kind of read situations and being able to play percentages based on where guys are, what hand stick they are, where their option is. So being able to process that information quickly is very, very important, because the play moves too fast to simply react to each thing that happens, right?
So you have to be a step ahead.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. Like, in a matter of speaking, right? You're obviously not going to cheat, but in that kind of mental game, yes, that's right. So kind of IQ, and you kind of bring that, like the mental game, it just kind of, that patience kind of brings into it. And then just that ability, that the overall kind of composure of it. Like bad games affecting you, or just kind of, the negative ups and downs and things like that, how bad goals get to you. And like, so from a technical perspective, like, do you know what I mean? There's not much of a difference, like AHL and NHL goalies.
Really?
Like, there's AHL guys that are fast as all get out, right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, super fast, super strong, great technically, have trained their whole lives, things like that. But they may crumble under pressure, right? They may be prone to soft goals. Like, those kind of things will kind of hold them back, right? Do you know what I mean? So they may have all these other tools, all the physical tangibles, but those things got to get to them. Because I think most guys see is the physical stuff we can kind of work with. Like, there are limits to that.
Yeah.
But I think we kind of believe that, we can get guys strong. We can get, as long as we feel that their character's there, that their work ethic's there, we can get guys stronger, a little faster, change one thing here, maybe in their knee or their shoulder position to improve their posture, to give them a little extra speed, balance, those kind of things. Those things we can kind of really like work with and teach guys. But that mental aspect is huge. And like I said, that kind of innate ability to read the play. Because you just can't go through it and start like you just have to be able to do it. You have to see it, boom. So it gives you that extra little half-second push before the play happens. So you're starting that move a little bit earlier. You're reading that pass. So you're on that puck. You see where the guy is, how far out he is. So you're making the right choice, whether or not to stay in your feet or go down into a butterfly, let's say. So the hockey IQ side, and I think that's a lot to do with the players too, right?
Well, that was my next question.
Like, because the players, they say it's usually IQ that sets guys apart, because a lot of guys are fast, a lot of guys can shoot, but can guys think the game, especially at that speed?
Well, you were saying that you're on the ice with Crosby and McKinnon and Marchand, all those boys. Credit to you. That's a great slab of ice to be on right now.
Yeah.
Everyone in the entire world wants to be playing right now, right there. So my question was, do you ever talk to Sid? Talk to McKinnon, Marchand, see what they're seeing when they're coming down. Let's say Fitzpatrick was down a little bit too early and Sid saw top right. Do you ever talk to the players and be like, what are you seeing from my guys? Anything like that?
Well, I haven't yet.
No. Maybe you will now.
Just because, you know what I mean? So just because I don't want to interfere with their
That's
whole
fair.
mojo. And I just kind of want to, as I'm just kind of starting out and doing this sort of thing with these kind of guys, is and I've done the same thing at every high level kind of thing I've been a part of, whether it's like I'm coaching with St. Mary's now. I coached with X for a few years, and I've coached like in Major Junior, like in Sherbrooke, and with the Mooseheads before. And so when I first get out with those guys, I'm not right on top of them right away. Like, you know what I mean? Because you want to see how guys are and how comfortable they are. Feel it out. But once I'm comfortable with people, you absolutely look for stuff like that. Absolutely. Now, a lot of the times I can see it, but I just like to talk to the guys to what they look for. Do you look for a specific thing in a goalie? Like, what do you really kind of see? Do you look at kind of maybe the way his shoulders go, or these kind of things, or where he's holding his glove? Do you find if a goalie holds his glove a certain way, you see more in that this way? Absolutely, you want to talk to guys like that, 100%.
Especially the best players in the world.
100%. And I found a lot of guys, like the guys that... one of the guys that I really got along with really well in my last Q stint in Sherbrooke was Sam Poulin. who was the second pick behind Alexis Lafreniere in the Q draft that year.
Okay.
Sherbrooke picked him second overall to Lafreniere. He just went in the first round to Pittsburgh. So he's
Did he?
with Sid and those guys, right?
Jeez.
But Sam and I, we really talked a lot up in Sherbrooke because he was a guy that kind of wanted to know it. Again, an offensive guy, player like that. He was always kind of looking for advantages on goalies and things like that.
Yeah.
So you'll find they kind of seek you out too if they're looking for something.
Yeah.
Not just on a specific goalie a lot of the time, because that's really kind of a crapshoot. It's pretty rare, like especially like in the NHL, where you're going to say, oh yeah, shoot glove on this guy. Like, I mean, you're like, they're all so good everywhere.
Yeah.
Like if they weren't, they wouldn't be in the NHL. So that's why I was talking about earlier, like the technical aspects and things like that.
Yeah.
The big thing about technique, as long as you're not giving up greasy 5-hole goals and armpit goals, most guys in the A are technically like, pretty comparable to guys in the NHL. Like, you know what I mean? Like from those kind of things, they're pretty similar, right? Like, so if somebody's giving up bad goals because of bad technique, they're just not going to get up there. But it's the high level to the elite. We're finding that it's mostly based on IQ, just like with the players. Like, like Sid and those guys just think the game at another level, right? Like they're just like, oh my God.
How fast are they out there?
It's crazy. And it was funny. I was remarking to the goalies because we had 3 goalies out there, right? So they had a little bit of a break. They were getting, but the pro guys like Sid's group, they had like 9 skaters out there, and the goalies, I mean, these guys are fit. Like Fitzy and Chase and Mason, these guys are in phenomenal shape. They work hard with their trainers all the time. They're in the gym all the time. They're on the ice all the time. They're incredibly fit. And they were dying, right? Just trying to keep up with these guys who were going rep after rep after rep after rep after rep. The intensity out there, it's funny. Like you have arguably 3 of maybe the top 5 players in the world, certainly 3 of the top 10. But you can make an argument for Marchand to be in that argument for sure. You can make an argument for McKinnon to be in that. Like, I mean, that last World Cup where Marchand and Sid teamed up, that was just friggin' atrocious.
You ever see the video when they're mic'd up?
Like incredible.
Oh,
right? Like,
amazing. They're talking all the time.
Incredible. But then you have this talent level, and then their work ethic matches it. Their intensity matches it. And you're like, holy cow. So if any kids out there think you're going to get away with not having an extreme work ethic, even if you're the most talented guy in the ice, forget about it. Like if you want to set yourself apart, and I don't care if you're the best guy in Pee Wee, if you want to set yourself apart, not just in your little association, whether you're in Halifax or East Hants or whatever, if you're talking, you want to be the best, that work ethic has to be just next level.
What a great lesson from those guys to teach the community. Because even though they might not, be talking to the kids are on YouTube watching those videos and seeing how hard they're going.
Yeah, that's the one good thing about Johnny Moore. Like and the way Sid and them practice too, like you can see, they do a ton of battle stuff.
Yeah, they do.
So that like they do a ton of battle stuff because they know how important it is in games, and they love having their intensity up, and they love having to make decisions. And this is another thing about that mental aspect of goaltending and guys that can do it and guys that can't. Yeah. Being able to be sharp mentally when you're dying physically.
Yeah.
Like, because when you're gassed, then your decision making goes down, and your brain just so. What Crosby and those guys know, and you can just tell, is that they have to work on their decision making and their playmaking at this high compete level, at this high, like when their heart rate's maxed, when they're really going, is when your brain has really got to operate at its best, or you're in big trouble.
I was talking to Logan Shaw at the Jordan Boyd tournament,
He's out there. Yeah,
and I asked him a question. I was like, so how much fun is it to come out here and just kind of shoot the shit, have some fun? He goes, oh man, it's amazing just to come out here and kind of relax and chuck some sauce and, have fun, because when we're training, it's not fun. It's just so hard. We're always competing. Everything is just top speed. There's no rest. So just to be able to come out here and kind of have some fun, you have no idea how much I was looking forward to it. And it kind of caught me off guard for a sec. I was like, if I was on the ice with Crosby, I'd be having a fucking great time. But to this guy, he's like, no, it sucks. Like I'm getting better out there. It's a battle. It's work. But as a fan, like me looking on the outside in, you just think, it's going to be a great time. But the way you're describing it now, it makes perfect sense that these guys aren't taking any time off, man. They're going hard. They're acting like they haven't played a game in the NHL before.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And you make a great point about those guys kind of being an example for the young kids, and that's the big example that I think that the young guys can really learn, is that holding each other accountable, like Logan said, right? Like those guys are out there competing against each other. They're holding each other accountable because of that. So that I'm going to go 110% in this drill. I'm going to make sure that everything. So you got to do the same. If you half-ass it and play soft D on me, you're not helping me get better. And those guys all know that, right? And so they really do a good job of holding each other accountable out there. Yeah. There's like There's a couple smiles in between drills, but for the most part, though, like it's a work day for sure. Right?
I love it.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really cool. Like, yeah, like you say, so the more and more kids kind of hear that and see that and understand it, it's huge because like that just compete level brings everybody up. It just brings it, and you need it. And I think that's why those guys started training together like that.
Yeah.
When you have the best guys in the world kind of train together and holding each other accountable. And again, it kind of goes back to our original point where we were talking about goaltending and about Empire and our success. Same thing.
Compete.
I've got all these guys competing against each other that want to be the best. They're still like, they're friendly in between, but they all want to be the best.
Yeah.
And they're working to up the levels all the time and just kind of raise everybody's game. And it's just, like you said, it's awesome for everyone.
Is Phillips out there? Ethan Phillips?
I didn't see. He wasn't out. I've just been out to the one.
So, okay.
Yeah, so I don't know.
He's coming on tomorrow.
So he could be on the young side for those guys too.
Okay.
So I don't know because I'm not sure who. Like Batherson was out there. Maybe.
Yeah, I saw Batherson. I saw a guy with a bunch of red gear and thought it was Detroit, so I thought it was Ethan.
Yeah, I think it was, but I think it was Gregor McLeod because I think he's signed by Grand Rapids.
Okay.
So he played in Drummondville last year as a 20.
Yeah.
Heck of a player.
Yeah.
Like just a great player. I remember watching, just scouting, because again, I scouted a ton of the queue, just trying to realize how goals are scored and what the percentage chances are and what the high percentage plays are and stuff. And man, he was on the highlight reel all year. What a year he had. So it was kind of a no-brainer that he was going to go pro. Just a phenomenal player.
So are you living here in Halifax?
Yeah, I live in Halifax.
You're going to be working with SMU this year?
Yeah, I work with SMU, yeah. So I started with them last year, which was a lot of fun. Like,
got the new rink this year?
Dogs, yeah, I got the new rink there. And it's a lot of fun. I love that level. And again, guys that still have a goal, right? So guys that still want to go play pro.
It's the best hockey around here.
Oh my God, it's phenomenal.
It's
like that was the highest I ever went was university, but loved it. It was phenomenal. Like loved it. It was high level. It was great. But yeah, so that's it. And again, like I said, like these guys, like my guy, like Chase Marchand played, Riley Picker's now at Dal. These guys still want to play pro. So again, they still have that goal. So they're still a captive audience. They still want to win a CIS title. They want to win an AUS title. They have that little bit of goal, right? So again, captive audience of elite talents because these guys have all played nowadays. Like when I played, you had some tier 2 guys and things like that. But nowadays, man, oh man, like you've got to be an elite tier 2 player or junior A player. Most of these guys have played 3-4 years of major junior. Some of these guys are coming off a pro stint and then, coming back and going to school. Like some of these guys have already been pros and now they're coming back and playing university hockey. The level is just incredible. Like it's the closest thing to pro you could really get for sure. Just because of the age and strength and size of these guys. And like I said, all high IQs because they've all been coached by great coaches, all coming up through, like I said, junior, major junior systems, sometimes pro. Like these guys are unbelievable.
Yeah. I was watching a game last year down on the glass and there was like a hit right in front of me. I was like, man, the speed's ridiculous. The
speed's insane.
It's
insane because like you say, like in major junior, your high end guys are phenomenal, right? Like you have your Alexi Lafreniere, they're phenomenal, right? But you also have some 17, 18-year-old guys that probably aren't going to make it, like, but in a university, the youngest guy is probably 21 years old. He's probably been working out for the last 8 years in a gym. He's got his man muscle on, like fast, hard shot. Like there's no easy shifts in a university thing. Like there's no, like, you know what I mean? Like just every guy out there is an absolute beast. So it's just the level's incredible, right? To your point, the hitting, it's just incredible.
I want to go a little off topic here. Kind of the same topic of goalies. There's been a lot of controversy of goalie gear and the size of the nets in the NHL, or not NHL, just in general, the sport of hockey. What's your thought on that, the gear and the nets? Yeah,
well, I think they're at a pretty good place right now. I think like it was funny, like when they were talking about it, I think it was like the average goals per game or something was at like 4.8 or something like that, which I think is pretty darn good. Yeah. That's in the 2-2 to 3-2 range. And for me, I think that's like one of the greatest hockey games you could have. Like 3-2 OT game would be pretty much a freaking awesome game.
But that's the thing. Like they're trying to get like other fans to like it. So if they think if there's more goals, that more fans will come. That's what they think, Gary Bettman and those guys. That's what I'm thinking at least. Yeah, if more goals are being scored, they're like, okay, well maybe we'll get more fans because that's exciting.
And that's something that really kind of confuses me. Because, and this is the argument I always make, right? So, in the Bell Center, right? Like you're talking about on home ice, right? Okay, so, man, I don't even follow Montreal that closely. Okay, so Domi and Drouin, right? So Domi goes in, slides it over to Drouin, top corner, okay, bell center,
Erupts.
goes bananas, right? Puck drops, boom, boom, boom. Landeskog comes down, rips it over to McKinnon for a freaking 1T. Carey Price flies across, windmill glove stop. What happens? Crowd goes nuts. So this idea that we don't like saves, I don't even know who the hell started that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the weirdest thing to me.
Yeah.
It's like this idea that fans don't like saves, like don't watch it. Like Carey Price makes an unreal stop in the Bell Center. Carey. Like, I mean, you don't want people to cheer for the goal. Like, we don't want anyone cheering for goalies. We just want us cheering for players. We want every game to be 20. Like, when did we stop liking saves? It's just, like, that's kind of the contradiction that I think a lot of people, when I say that about gear, they're like, that's a really good point.
It is a good point.
Because people love saves. Like, we love our goalies to make a great save. It brings the crowd to their feet. And I think we're at a great spot now for the gear, like I said, in terms of the speed of the game, because we're starting to experiment a lot. And guys will talk about these old, like the old school guys are great. Like, believe me, like I love like the guys that are commentating on Hockey Night in Canada stuff. Like, they're great. A lot of good goalie analysts now have a good take on it. But a lot of those guys say, you know, we didn't have big gear like this. I'm like, boys, like, come on. I'm like, Al McGinnis was taking a 100-mile slap shot, stepping in an all-star game. Like, the shots you get in practice now, just snapshot, boom. Like, these guys, like, continuous beating on your body. We cannot be shrinking this gear on goalies. The puck is moving too fast. The technology of the sticks, the guys take way too much abuse. You cannot keep shrinking the pants and the goalie gear, the upper body, down and down and down to where it's all like you guys be getting killed. Like it's a whole mask argument. Like, could you imagine? Like, if people who still make that argument, like, we can't even have a conversation.
You brought it up, not me.
Because you're an idiot, right? Do you know what I mean? Oh, back in my day, Harry Sawchuk didn't even wear a mask. If goalies didn't wear masks, you'd have, on average, I'm going to say 3,000 deaths a day.
Yeah.
Okay. Pee-wee goalies would be dying every day. Children dead on hockey rinks everywhere. Well, you got to do it. Glenn Hall did it. Like, boys, like, don't even start to me about who could shoot pucks hard. It's not even the same thing.
I know.
So yeah, just the beating that these guys take in practice and stuff, like, because like I said, every shot can be high.
Yeah.
They can all rip it high on a one, and it just rips off of these sticks. These big friggin' 200-pound dudes using like 70 flex, and it's just
it's insane.
It's snapping off there and coming up into the collarbones and in a man. So I think we're at a good spot. Like I said, I think the average goals per game is somewhere between 4.5 and 5, which, like I said, is like a 3-2 game or a 2-2. Like,
that's the game you want.
And I mean, we're still getting high scoring games all the time. I find there's a lot more 7-2 games here and there and everywhere, and like those are happening because, like I said, the players are so freaking nasty. Yeah. The players are fucking sick. Like, I talk about the goalies all the time, how we got to work on our patience and our skating just to be able to keep up with these guys.
Yeah.
Because, man, like I said, when I played, we weren't really doing lifties until I was a major bantam. And now, man, I'll go to a friggin' Adam A practice and 6 kids are going bar down.
No way.
It's insane.
Adam, they're going bar down.
Oh my God, these light sticks, and they've been on the ice for 6 years, and they're out with great coaches all the time. Like, these shooters are unreal.
Dude, I didn't start aiming the puck till I was in bantam.
Yeah.
Like,
and one of the things that's funny, like, because like you've probably seen now that we've gone to the cross ice, like at the lower level, like with the novice, which I think is really kind of cool.
Tightens it up
A little bit and things like that. And one of the things I like it for is, like, the new nets are pretty small, but like my big thing is I still like, the big thing is the top part of the net because the guys can hit it. I wish those mini nets were a little bit wider because I think it promotes a little more skating with the guys. But that's the big thing. Like, the smaller goalies, like the NHL guys don't need bigger nets. They really don't. Like I said, the game is good right now and the gear certainly doesn't need to be smaller. But for the younger goalies, I think it is good having that crossbar down a little bit because, like I said, these little kids, man, I'm telling you, they can fire it. And I've seen some younger goalies, and of course parents too, not because they want their kid to be an NHL goalie, but because no one wants to see their kid in there for 16 goals. And some of these, like I said, some of these 7-year-old players are freaking nasty.
No way.
You want to see some of the
7.
moves they can do, dude. And the little goalies moving around in the gear just can't match that. And when they're on the big kind of like NHL net or whatever, it gets pretty ugly.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of thing kind of getting goalies discouraged on it.
Yeah.
But it is kind of nice to have the smaller nets so the young goalies can be confident. Hey, man, I can make a glove save too. Because some of those little goalies, if they're on a standard net, they can not really make a glove save because they just don't have the physical ability to move it. And the players they're going against can absolutely rip it. Absolutely.
I got to see this for myself.
Oh my God, it's crazy. You got to see it. Like some of these high level kids that are just playing novice and coming into Adam, I can't get over it. Like they scoop it up and do the lacrosse stuff. And I'm like, what?
That's the YouTube era for you.
100%.
All that is.
The social media area.
Oh,
yeah. Because there's guys that have like, there's some of these skill coaches that have videos online, like at their Instagram page, and it's all over the place. And kids just watch it. And man, oh man, you see some of the stuff they can do. It's really, really cool. But again, it goes back to, if we can just kind of circle back to all of it, like with the mental thing and the difference between players and goalies and how hard it is. Like I'll have the thing all the time. Like it's a little kid, right? It's a little 10-year-old kid or it's an 11-year-old kid. And the coach would be like, oh, Brad, oh man, I tell you, man, he's getting beat on that glove, right? He's getting beat on the glove, eh? I'm like, yeah. And the guy just looking at me, right? Just silence. Yeah, he's getting beat on that glove. The guys are just beating him high, right? I'm like, yeah, he's, his hands are pretty bad, right? And so the guy's looking at me like, what are you doing here, basically, right? You know what I mean? So then I'll let the practice go on.
Yeah.
And I'll see a kid struggling, player.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, hey, man, this guy over here, what's his name? Oh, that's Robbie or whatever. I'm like, dude, man, how many goals this guy got? This guy got 50 goals? This guy? No, man, he's bad hands. I'm like, oh yeah. I said, so it's okay for the player to have the bad hands, but not the goalie. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the expectation level on the goalies, especially with introduction to guys like me, like with coaches and stuff like that, it's like, okay, Brad, he's really having a hard time with his glove. I'll give you the first 7 minutes of practice. Good? Is he Matt Welsh yet? Do you got him? Are you good? Because so it's funny. I put a thing out on my social media a little while ago. Got a lot of traction.
I think I posted it.
I got a lot of responses on it.
Yeah.
No, just from like this thing.
Okay.
Like from the I said the goalie giving up a goal, a minor hockey goalie that they should have had, is probably the mental physical equivalent of a player going offside.
Wow.
Right? Like, so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like say that.
It's a mental lapse.
Exactly. Or missing a 10-foot pass.
Mm-hmm.
How many times does an Adam AA kid miss a 10-foot pass? I go to a ton of games. It probably happens 15, 20 times a game. Like between both teams, every pass is not tape to tape and all this kind of stuff imperfect, right? So for those expectations on them, like minor hockey goalies are going to give up bad goals all the time. They're going to struggle all the time. They're kids. They're going to make mistakes. But like I said, like, man, oh man, like kid gives up a 5, like just makes a mistake. Like makes a mistake. Like, man, yeah, I made a mistake. Player makes a mistake. Man, oh man, you get away with it. And of course they should. Like, of course they should make a mistake. Like, and of course they should get away with it. But that expectation level is incredible. And it's one of the biggest things on goalies, right? Because there's always something you could have said that would have helped you stop that puck. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe you could have read the play better, held your edges a little bit longer. So we always feel that little bit of responsibility when a goal goes in, even if it's a great play. Man, maybe I could have saw that. Maybe I could have pushed a little harder. And so those mistakes are the things that goalies really have to like kind of deal with and learn to get over and learn to kind of say, you know what, it's a process. I'm still going to get more shots this game. I'm still going to play the next game, and be able to bounce back from that is absolutely huge, because the expectations on them are really kind of unrealistic. And especially the minor hockey goalies where they are playing on NHL sized nets, like Pee Wee AAA goalies play on the same net as Roberto Luongo uses. Well, not anymore. He's retired now, but Carey Price or whatever. And so, those guys, they have to kind of learn that, but there's going to be goals to go in.
Well, man, if you're saying that Adam players are being able to aim a puck, Pee Wee, I can't even imagine what they're able to do. And if the nets are that big and the guys are still that small, I'm assuming those games are like 7-3, 7-5, whatever, every game.
No, I mean, thankfully they're not, because the teams are really well coached and the goalies are really good.
Evens out.
But that's the thing. But sometimes bad, like, goals go in.
Yeah.
Just the expectation level is there. Like the mistakes that goalies make are just magnified so much. And that's at kind of every level.
Yeah.
But at the top levels, those guys have ironed enough things out that they should, the mistakes should be at a minimum. Like I don't like seeing NHL guys give up bad goals. They really shouldn't give up bad goals. But minor hockey goalies, certainly, right? Like certainly they're going to give up bad goals for sure.
How much time do you have? It's 2:00. You're good?
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm good.
Do you think you're able? I think it's more common in the queue when a goalie comes in for intermission. The goalie coach will come down and be like, "Hey, let's talk for a sec." If a goalie's having a bad game, it's really frustrated. You said you were up in Sherbrooke. Do you think that you're able to determine whether or not to go into the room and talk to Fitzpatrick, for example, knowing that maybe he's a little bit frustrated, so you're going to leave him alone? Or are you going to take that step into the room and say, "Hey, listen, Fitzy, come out here. I want to talk to you." Are you able to find that line and know whether or not to cross it or to stay away from it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think that's just trial and error. I think it's trial and error and kind of just talking to your goalies too.
Just knowing the goalie.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, that can be a conversation that you have. And again, it's always kind of like, it's not a problem until it's not working. Like, do you know what I mean?
What do you mean? I don't understand.
So for me, even like there's just in teaching goalies and training goalies how to be better goalies, there's a few things that are kind of hard and fast rules, right? Like I have like, say 7 kind of principles or something.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it is that or not. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, there's certain things that I like goalies to do and say, okay, when the puck's in this area or this kind of shot, you should really be thinking about this. Now, how exactly you do that, I'm okay with. Yeah. Like, again, like we don't want goalies to be robots. They should all, like, you look at NHL goalies, there's no two the same. They all play kind of differently. They hold their stance a little bit different, like except for the video I did with Welsh and Gooby.
Yeah, that was weird.
That one is a little eerie, and I think I
odd.
said that. I said that was crazy because their body position, everything's kind of like the same, which is really crazy.
The weird thing about it is that they've both played for the Max. They both played. I think they played minor, the same organization, minor hockey, and now and it was weird.
Yeah.
That's what's weird about it.
They're the same like height. Yeah. Like it's just really funny, but like for the most. So again, like. It's not going to be because sometimes, like I said, it's not going to be a problem until it stops working. So if I'm a guy that say, if a goalie tells me, you know what, I don't like to talk in between periods.
Has a goalie said that to you before?
Oh, for sure. Because I'll ask them. Okay. I'll say, kind of, what's your opinion on that? Do you want me coming down in between periods? Do you want me to show you some video in between periods? Now, you can't do that in minor hockey, but I'm saying at the major junior level, would you like to see your goals in between periods? Some guys might say, yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, bring them down, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say I had a goalie do that. Let's say I had a goalie say, yeah, I want to see it.
Okay.
Right? So I'm like, okay. So I bring him down. Here was this goal. Yeah, okay, Brad, I got you. Right? I go back up into the booth. We go in to start the second. We let in 4 goals. So I'm like, okay. So then we do that the next game. Come down. Here you go. Boom. Here you go. Boom, boom, boom. I go back up. Third goal or first shot goal or something like that. Then I'm like, okay. Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't be down here showing you goals against and then having you go back out. Do you know what I mean? So a goalie may say something works for them or something like that. And my first instinct is always to take their word for it. Like, do you want me to come down and coach you in between periods? If you give up a goal, do you want me to come down and tell you why it went in? Yeah. I like doing that. So if I do that, Boomy goes out, plays great. I like everything he's doing. I'm like, good, we'll stay with that. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not a problem until it stops working. So if a goalie tells me one thing, if he says, no, man, I just want to be by myself, but for whatever reason, he's friggin' god awful in the first shift of, say, the second period, the third period, or even the first period, I say, listen, man, maybe we should do something in between periods to kind of get your mind right. You're not starting the periods the way we want you to start them. It's not working.
Yeah.
So maybe let's look at something else. So do you know what I mean? So it's kind of a trial and error, working with the goalie, seeing what they like, what their preferences are, but their preferences may be friggin' out to lunch. They may just like want to do something because they saw Braden Holtby do it or something. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is what he does, so I'm going to do it. Oh, I do this because, you know, well, and then I come out like, that doesn't really seem to be working for you, dude. Maybe we should look at something else. So that's how we kind of do it. Like, we kind of address a problem rather than try to fix something that's going good.
I'm not going to mention names, but I've seen it before in the past where I've seen goalie coaches come down and goalies just kind of brush off the guy like, no, not right now, like in front of the team. And I was just like, oh, geez, that's kind of an awkward thing right there. And I've seen it before. So that's why I wanted to bring it up and just see if there was anything that ever happened. But that's good to know.
Yeah,
you just
for
ask.
sure.
It's a simple answer. You just ask. Do you want me to be here?
You can just ask exactly right.
Yeah.
And that could be a guy who 99 times out of 100 wants you to be there.
Yeah.
But that one time, he's just friggin' pissed off and just says, get the hell out of here. And then that's something where you're just like, yep. Because you never want to confront them kind of in game or in the moment.
Yeah.
So that would be something, go back up and then come down and say, dude, listen, we're just doing our protocol. I didn't like you telling me to fuck off or get the fuck out of the way. Let's make sure that I said, I don't mind. Like if you wanted to change, say, no, Brad, like, I think I'm just good.
Yeah.
You can do that. So it just kind of depends the way the goalie would do it or something like that. We may have to have a talk.
Yeah.
But in terms of them switching it up or saying, yeah, I just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
If I went back up and it worked for them, I say, hey, okay, maybe we were onto something here. And then maybe we start talking about that. So it's always kind of a process, I think.
Okay, cool.
And I think you'll find that even when guys, like even when they get traded in the NHL or in the queue or things like that, they may have done something with the one goalie coach, but maybe it's not working with this other guy. Maybe they just don't have a great dynamic talking about video or talking about the mental game. Maybe they just they're not on the same page vocabulary wise. You say, man, you know what? I used to do this, but I don't think I want to do it. And nothing against you personally, but it's just the vibe just isn't right.
Okay.
So rather than kind of force something, you'd rather kind of go by feel. You want goalies to be comfortable, man. You need your goalies to be comfortable, confident. That's how you want them. You don't want them overthinking shit or anything like that, because then, like I said, to your point, the mental game really comes in on goalies. Like the mental game is so huge. So you don't want to kind of make any waves there. So anything like that, you kind of after the situation, after the game, before the next practice, during practice like that, game thing, you don't want a lot of waves. That's for sure. Right.
All right. Well, my last question here is, when I was doing my research on you yesterday, a little bit today, and you got high praise from the people I was talking to. And, everyone has gifts in this world. I like to think I'm a great conversationalist. Some people are good at accounting. Some people are good at hockey. What do you think your gift is? Why do you think you're in the position that you are in right now? Like, what do you bring to the table, and why are you flourishing in this industry, you think?
Well, I think, much like you're doing a great job at this, I think just communication is a big part of what I do. And that may come from being a teacher, where I really got into it. Started coaching kind of early, just working at goalie camps and things like that. But then when I got into teaching and really kind of excelled at that as well, I just found that I was very comfortable in front of a classroom and did well talking to people, being able to explain things clearly and simply, not overcomplicating it, but just being able to give information, clearly and concisely in ways that people could understand. And then just like to my earlier point, I kind of touched on it for whatever reason. I just have a good sense of it. And I think that's a lot of things, like when you're talking about hockey or coaching or feel, is that what to emphasize. Like a lot of my day is spent, especially during the season, watching hockey, like watching games, right? So when I go to a Pee Wee game, or when I go to a Bantam game or whatever, and then I go to the Pee Wee goalies that are trying out for Bantam, I'm like, listen, these are the situations that happen at Major Bantam. All right. And these are the ways to best defend those situations. Because like I said, a lot of the time guys will go on as coaches and they'll go to a goalie coach symposium or something like that, where the best minds are together, and that's great. Like that's cool. You can go network and meet some people and stuff like that. But again, you get guys that do that stuff and they go there and this is what, Mitch Korn was saying and all this kind of stuff. And they try to bring that back to their Pee Wee AAA goalie. And it's just not maybe the right time for that yet. Okay. Or maybe they need a little more experience practicing that, or they don't really have a grasp of it yet to kind of introduce it to that goalie. So then all that time becomes kind of wasted. And so it's like, oh yeah, man, we were doing these drills that they do with the pro camps, but the goalie didn't get any better because it wasn't the stuff he should have been doing or she should have been doing. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's kind of having that sense of the game. And the funny thing, and I think it's why a lot of the goalies kind of end up as analysts, like guys like Kevin Weeks, Darren Pag, Kelly Rudy. There's so many ex-goalies in hockey analysis,
you can
right?
see the game
on panels. Yeah.
like a catcher in baseball. You see the whole
thing.
you
kind of see the whole game and the way it is. And I think the best goalie coaches have kind of even a heightened sense of that, of like how plays develop and why they develop and when they develop and where they develop and things like that. So, because like I said, you'll have guys that are working with all these major band and major junior, but not really developing guys, not really. Because like I said, like when you look at, there's really no reason, because I've talked to a lot of these other goalie coaches in our region and things like that. And I like what they have to say. And I'm kind of like, man, it's just kind of funny that it seems like that our guys and girls are really getting up there and the other guys just haven't caught up there kind of yet. Like it's kind of, it really seems funny. Like, so I feel it's just kind of what I identify in terms of gameplay at those levels, like especially major junior, major midget, major bantam, the Pee Wee AAA. That's where we really kind of, like I said, like, and that's kind of my goal. Because once I get these guys, or help these guys, I should say, get them into that major junior kind of level, now they get that thing gets fractured. There's all kinds of people in it. So, but we've got them in front of NHL scouts right now. So they've got the opportunity to kind of do their thing and get noticed. So that's kind of our goal, like from minor to major. Like we're going to teach you the things that can get you from minor hockey up into this level. And then from there, come back and see us, talk to us. We'll help you and keep track of you and all that. But you're going to start getting a ton of input once you get up into that level. Yeah. And you're going to have to dissect what you really like and what really works best for you at that level and that kind of thing. But I think it's just knowing that. And I think that's true at every level, right? It's guys like why guys like Steiny are so good at that level. Like now he's been there for so long, and Peds in X and Gardner and UNB, those guys have been in those spots and they've built these great programs. So obviously, yes, the recruiting is there, but they know the game at that level, man. They know that game, like that level. So they really get their guys that they recruit in there to their max performance at that level because they know it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they've seen it. They know exactly what's really important. And maybe what's not as important. And I think that's what I do. I think that's what we've really been able to do with our goalies, is identify for those kids when they're at these certain levels and what levels they're trying to make are the key things they need to work on. Right? May not necessarily be what an NHL goalie is doing at that point, or what an NHL goalie coach says is the most important thing ever, because they don't really need to be doing that yet. Or maybe just that goalie coach doesn't have a grasp of what that really is and is probably just talking out of their ass or not really explaining it properly. So again, that's just kind of wasted time. So I think that's the big part of success, is kind of knowing where you are, knowing the material, just like when I was a teacher. Yeah. Pretty tough to go and friggin' teach fucking Shakespeare if you've never read Hamlet. Like fucking good friggin' luck, man. Like, well, no, this guy says I should teach Shakespeare, so here you go. Yeah, but you don't really friggin' know anything. So, exactly. So it's going to be tough that way for sure.
Hey, well, Brad, it was a pleasure talking to you, man. Thank you very much for coming on. Hour 15 minutes flew by.
Dude, I tell you what, man, like this is so much fun. Like I said, I was listening to a few podcasts coming out, like obviously listening to Welsh's and stuff. I said I was listening to Bowers and Fitzy and Steiny there, Matt Steinberg, and Luke Henman, one of my favorite Q players.
Great guy.
I loved his one the other day. I thought that was really, really good. It was one of the ones I listened to recently after he was talking about Carolina and stuff. Yeah. But like I said, this is awesome. And I love what you're doing, man. Like one of my favorite things in the world is to go, like I watch every friggin' Q game I can on TV, the Eastlink, and I watch every major midget Eastlink game. When they do the broadcasts of the provincials, like Bell Alliance does a great job with that, and the Picto Petter Sports guy, that guy's doing all those provincial things now. Man, the fact that you're bringing these local guys in and you're promoting these guys and you're showing this pride in these guys that have put in this time and are showing that, like Halifax and local sports and all that kind of stuff, these local athletes and entertainers too. You've had Quake Matthews in here and Classified and these guys, like, man, I dig that. Like, I love, like, that's why I love being back here and working with the guys. I love working with kids from Nova Scotia. Like, I'd love to see how everybody's doing. I love it. And so the fact that you did this, and my boys, the Anthony brothers, right? They turned me on to you guys, right? So, oh man, you got to listen to this High Button
I was talking
podcast.
to Ants last day, like 2 days ago, up in Cape Breton.
Screaming, it was like beauty. God. One of my favorite people in the world.
Dude, I was talking to him for probably 30 minutes. The whole time he had a smile on his head. He's like, hey man, you should see my office. I'm talking to the NHL scout right now. I got to go back later. I got to go fit my skates. Oh my God, man. He is so excited, man. Yes. The energy around that guy is just through the roof. And
that's what I mean. And the fact that you're excited for him and you're putting that out in the public that you're excited for him. And so more people are going to be watching the Screaming Eagles, say, man, how's Ants doing? How are they doing?
Yes.
I friggin' love that shit. So the fact that you're doing this and you asked me to come on, I was so excited, like to talk about local goalies and local hockey and just hockey in general, just come in and shoot the shit. dude, man, like this is unreal. Like I'll be back anytime you freaking want. You want to talk about the next prospects for the Q draft? I'll be here for sure.
Hey, let's do it. We'll do like next year. We'll do like a Q pre-scout thing because I honestly, that's one thing I'm not good at is knowing the next up and comers. But it seems like you are. So.
Oh, dude, yeah, perfect for sure, 100%.
All right, Brad. Thanks once again, man. You are the man. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, Justin. Thanks.
Everyone listening, make sure to go to all of our social media outlets. Like, subscribe, comment, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, Twitter, SoundCloud. I think I mentioned them all. We are out, guys. Peace.